everyone, welcome to Jolly Molly TV. Today we're going to do another fun block in Kimberbell's A Quilty Little Christmas wall hanging project. We're going to do this block right here that is called Stars. This is going to be fun. So let's go ahead and grab your plastic pouch system that you have labeled Stars, and let's head over to the embroidery machine and let's get started stitching. All right, we're at the machine. I have a bobbin with white thread down below, and I have white thread in the top of my machine. The reason I have white is because if you pull out your plastic pouch system that's labeled Stars, and you pull out all of the fabric, if you have the kit, the background fabric is this white fabric with red polka dots. So that's why I want white thread up above, so I'm going to do several stitches all the way through the quilting in the white thread. These other three pieces of fabric are for your applique. These we're going to deal with in a little bit, so just set those aside. Then you also need to grab the one piece of batting that you pre-cut that's 3 by 7 inches. And we're going to put that off to one side. And then I'm going to put the fabric off to one side. So we're good on that. Now let's go to the screen cam and load the design. Okay, so I'm going to go to my embroidery module, and I'm going to go to my flash drive, and I'm going to go to the folder I created that's called A Quilty Little Christmas. This is a Baby Lock Destiny machine, identical to the Brother Dream machine, just in case you have something you can follow along with these steps. I'm going to go to the quilting design first, and I am looking for wavy. And I'm looking for the 2 by 6 design, which is right here. That's going to be cool. We're going to stitch that out. So let's click Set. We don't have to do anything to it. Now I'm going to add the embroidery design on top of this. Go back to my flash drive, back to A Quilty Little Christmas, and go to the main quilt folder. And I am looking for Stars, which is going to be in the Sending Holiday Wishes number 2 folder. And here it is, 5 by 7 stars. That's the one. I'm going to click Set. It brings it right in. It perfectly centers it where we want it to go. So all we do is click Embroidery. And we're ready to start stitching. So let's go back to the hoop cam. I've got my white thread up on top. Everything's ready to go, so let's put the foot down and stitch out the placement line for that batting. Here we go. Okay, so now I'm going to place the batting down, making sure I have that placement line covered on all sides. Put the foot down, and let's tack down the batting. Okay, so now I want you to take the hoop off the machine, take this over to a table, and I want you to trim away the excess batting from all 4 sides of that stitch line, and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, we have that trimmed up. Now let's put the foot down, leave your white thread up on top, and let's stitch out the placement line for the fabric. Okay, so now I'm going to lay the fabric down and try to center it. Feel for the batting with your fingers. And then that way you can kind of pretty much center the fabric. And mind you, you don't have to be perfect. You got oodles of extra fabric on the sides that we're going to trim off eventually. But just try to get it centered as best you can by feeling for that batting. Once you have it in place, go ahead and put your foot down and leave white thread or a matching thread up on top, and let's tack down the fabric. Okay, cool. Now we're at my favorite part where we're going to stitch the quilting. We're going to put my foot down. I want to use white thread in this quilting design because I want it to blend in with the fabric and let the 3 stars and the embroidery and applique shine. So I'm going to quilt this in white thread. You choose the thread color of your choice for your quilting, And let's go ahead and stitch this out. It's only about a 1 minute in real life stitch out. Here we go. Very cool. All right, so now we get to work with the 3 pieces of the applique. All right, we're going to be placing one, tacking it down, placing one, tacking it down, placing one, tacking it down. So I'm going to have 2 colors of thread handy. I want to use the light pink for step 1 and step 2, and then I'll switch to red for step 3. So the first thing I want to do is stitch out the placement line for the first piece of applique, which is the light pink fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and put light pink thread in the top of my machine. And then we'll stitch out this placement line that'll show us where we're going to put the fabric. All right. And we don't have a loop. We're good. Let's stitch this out. It's only about 1 minute. Here we go. Okay, so now we're going to lay the first fabric down, which is going to be the light pink if you have the kit. And just make sure that you've covered all of that placement line with the fabric. And you're going to put your foot down, and then it's going to continue to stitch those pieces again, just like it did for the placement line. And then it's tacking down the fabric as it goes. Okay, so let's go ahead and tack down the pink fabric. Okay, so now we're going to take the hoop off the machine gently. We're going to take it over to the table. Now I want you to cut away the excess fabric from around the outside of all of these pinwheels. Okay, the outside edge. So what you want to leave is the center part with the stitching around it. You want to trim around the outside as close as you can, but don't nick the stitches. All right, there will be satin stitch accents on top of this in the future, but we just want to trim away and leave those little pink pinwheel parts there. All right, I will meet you right back here when we have that done. Okay, that took a little bit of time, but time and patience is all you need. Let me trim this one up just one little smidge. There. That I think looks good. Okay, now it's going to stitch the placement lines for the next piece of applique fabric. And I'm going to go ahead and use my light pink thread again because it'll blend with this, but again, it's not going to be seen because there's going to be satin stitches around the top part. So I can go ahead and use this thread. I think that will look fine. So I'm going to put the foot down and stitch out the placement lines for this fabric. Here we go. Now I'm going to lay my fabric down and make sure that I have covered all of that placement line. And it's going to be a little tight actually. There. And what about up here? Let me go off to one side and I can see where the top's going to be and I can see where the bottom's going to be. And then I can just place it right like that and then double check. Okay, we're good. So now let's tack down this fabric. Foot down and here we go. All right, that just fit. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go over to the table and we're going to trim away this excess of this fabric. Don't ever puncture the fabrics below. You're just trimming off the excess of the top fabric, and you're going to go around that stitch line as close as you can, as nicely as you can, without nicking those stitches. You want to go around the outside edge and trim all this fabric away. Just the top layer. All right, and I'll meet you right back here. How about that? It's a little time consuming, but I think it's going to come out really cool once it's all done. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Okay, so now I want to put the red thread in the top of my machine to match the red piece of fabric that we're going to do next. And put my hoop back on as well. You got this. So put your color thread in the top of your machine that matches your next applique fabric. And we got this. All right. We have one more placement line to put in place here. And then we can tack down this last applique fabric. Here we go. Okay, so one last time, let's go ahead and put the fabric down, making sure that we cover all of that placement line. When we have it in place, let's go ahead and put the foot down and tack down the fabric. You got this. All right, let's go ahead and trim this. Okay, so now we are looking at, let's put that over there. We're looking at trimming this up. Last time, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing we did last time. I want you to trim away the excess of the red fabric by trimming very close to that stitch line as you can without nicking the stitches, and trim that along each of those 3 sections, getting rid of all of this excess red fabric. All right, go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, how does that look? Does yours look similar? All right, so now we just need to get some Scotch tape and clear up all of the little fragments of thread and fabric and clean it up so it doesn't get all caught in the satin stitches. Then we can identify any threads that we might have to trim up, like this one right here. Yeah. There we go. One other one. All right. That looks good. What do you think? That was a lot of work, but look at what the results are. All right. That's cool. Okay. So I'm going to take my red thread out. And I brought now my 3 color threads I'm going to use for these next 3 steps. So we're going to start with a light pink, if you have the kit. Then we're going to go to a medium pink, and then we're going to go to a red. And it's going to stitch on the outside edge of each of those. Okay, so those are the 3 colors of pink that are in my project, and that's what I'm going to pull through. So let's go ahead and put the first pink up above, which is the light pink. And then it's got a 7-minute stitch out where it's going to do the satin stitches around the outside of the light pink. All right, so this will be fun to watch. Everybody ready? Okay, let's do the satin stitches around the light pink. Here we go. Okay, that looks cool. Now I went to my thread stash and I was like, you know what? This isn't really going to match that well with the next color of this fabric because that's more of a peachy pink. So I went out in my thread stash and I got a matching thread to go with that second fabric. All right, that'll look a little bit better. So now I'm going to put that thread in the top of my machine, and we're going to stitch this next satin stitch out, which is a 3-minute stitch out in real life. So put the thread color of your choice up above in your machine that matches that second fabric, the middle fabric. We just did the light one. Now we're going to do the middle, and then we'll do the red next, okay? Put that thread up above, and let's stitch out these satin stitches. Here we go. Okay, so now we're going to switch our thread out again, and we want to match our third fabric, the darker fabric. In this case is going to be the red. I want to put my red thread up in the top of my machine, and we're going to stitch this section of satin stitches out. All right, so put your color thread up above, load your needle, and make sure there's no loops. And this is a 6-minute stitch out in real life. So let's stitch this out. Here we go. Alright, it's turning out really pretty. So now we have one more color to do. We're actually going to go back and do the middle pink color. In my case, it's like a salmon pink, because it needs to finish that other side of that color. So I'm going to put my middle pink color back in the top of my machine. You do the same thing, okay? Put that same color thread we used in the last stitch out, not the red, the one before. And put that thread back up in your machine. And I'll stitch this out. This is a 3-minute in real life stitch out. All right, here we go. Oh, we have a loop. Got to get that loop out. There we go. Okay, you ready? Let's go. You got this. Very pretty. Isn't that cool? Now this was a little time consuming, but look at how it came out. That is really pretty. That was worth the work. All right, great job. All right, now there's one more stitch that the machine is showing, which is an outside trim line. All right, if you've done it like I've showed you, and you've done the quilting first on this block, you already have that line, so you don't have to do this last stitch. If you did not, then you can go ahead and stitch out this last stitch in any color thread you want. It's just basically going to mimic this line on the outside, which will help you trim up your block. All right, if you've done the block by block method, you don't have to stitch out this last stitch. All right, so this is done, at least for the stitch part. So let's take this hoop over to the table, and I'm going to show you how to finish up this block. Okay, isn't that a pretty block? This was actually a lot of work with the applique, but I think it turned out really nice. So it was worth the work. All right, so the last thing we have to do is square this block up. This block is going to measure 6.5 inches by 2.5 inches. So I want you to look for the outer stitch line, and that's what we're going to use to measure this block. Okay, so let's measure it first. So from this line to this line is 6.5. And from the top line to the bottom is 2.5. So that's exactly what we want. Okay, so I'm going to do the short end first. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go for that outside stitch line. I'm also going to line this ruler up with this line. Normally I don't do that, but because it's such a short edge, I want to make sure that the block is straight from the get-go. So I'm going to put this ruler line on that outer stitch line and then put the ruler just a hair past this stitch line. Can I see the stitch line? Yes, I can. So now I can make my cut. All right. Then I'm going to come and do the same thing on the other side. Got that lined up on the mat. 2, 4, 6.5. Lining the ruler up. Going to go ahead and line it up here as well on this line to that stitch line. And my mat all the way up. Now this is not 100% flat. You got a little bit of three-dimensional wiggle here with the block. So I put my thumb here and my fingers on the opposite side of that to hold the ruler in place, to give myself leverage on both sides. And then I'm going to cut very slowly after I say, can I see that stitch line? Yes, I can. And then I'm going to just cut slowly so it doesn't wiggle. If you put your hand right here, you've got potential wiggle. See, even if it's a Quilter Select ruler, because you've got three-dimensional kind of a bubble here a little bit with that applique. Put your thumb and your fingers on the opposite sides of that applique and the ruler will stay put. All right. So got those two sides done. So now we're on the long side. So for sure on this one, I'm going to use this ruler down here to make sure I'm lined up. And can I see that stitch line? Yes, I can. Make that cut. This isn't so bad holding it down because you have applique in 3 sections. All right, so I can come down here. I can line up the ruler on the edge. I can line this at 2.5. And I can see the stitch line and I can line up this ruler on the mat. Got a little bit of wiggle room, but I can definitely just use leverage on those two and it's not going to go anywhere. Okay. Can I see that stitch line? Yes, I can. Ta-da! You did it. Now you've got a little bit of stitching here. Don't worry. That will disappear in your seam allowance. Isn't that pretty? That is a very elegant, very pretty block that took a lot of work, but you did it. And you learned a new technique to do 3 levels of applique. That's so cool. So I hope you had as much fun today making this block as I have. And I hope you stay tuned here on Jolly Molly TV for more fun and more adorable blocks in Kimberbell's A Quilty Little Christmas wall hanging project. And until I see you next time, take care and happy stitching. Bye-bye.